My name is Lucy Skuse from Bristol Bears Women, and you're watching the Women's Rugby Show.
Hello and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show. I'm Sam Byther, and today we're here at Loughborough University for round 2 of the Allianz Premier 15s. This clash sees Loughborough Lightning taking on Wasps Women. In this clash, you saw two teams who made the semi-finals of the Premier 15s last season. Both teams lost in round 1, Loughborough losing away to Harlequins and Wasps losing at home to Saracens, both are last year's finalists. It was a tough start, but both sides are going to look to bounce back today here. Before we get into the video and bringing you analysis, action and post-match reaction, make sure you like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube and check us out across all social medias. If you've done all that, let's get into the video. Like I mentioned, both sides lost their opening round game. We were at Loughborough's game against Harlequins last weekend at the Stoop. And actually, despite the early injury to Emily Scarrett, where she broke her leg and we wish her a speedy recovery, Loughborough were actually quite good to keep in that game because they had a really young side, missing a number of players, missing a 10, missing Helena Rowlands, who still misses out today. They've got Alex Baker starting at 10 today, who impressed us last weekend, so I hope for Loughborough's sake that she produces that same quality performance today. Harlequins were outstanding last weekend, but Loughborough managed to stay in that game, and I think if they can do that today against Wasps, who lost to Saracens, then we'll be in for a real treat. The big team news though for Loughborough is the arrival and debut of Sadia Kabea, who's making her first Loughborough appearance today against her former club. We all know the talents that Sadia has, and if she can produce them for Loughborough today, then I think they actually might steal that win, because a forward battle today is going to be the most important part of this game. Elsewhere, they brought in Eloise Hayward for her first start after she came off the bench last weekend, with Megan Davey, who started at 9 last weekend, moving to fullback. And on the bench, they brought in the young Lily Eves Campion and also Sarah Svoboda, the Canadian international. I think it's going to be an important win for this one for Loughborough today if they can get that win, because it's important to get those wins against the top 4s, particularly at home, and if they want to be in that top 4 semi-final battle, then they need to start picking up results, particularly at home, and particularly starting here today against Wasps. Like we mentioned about Wasp Women, they actually lost their first game last weekend at home against Saracens. It was a tough loss, it was a really close game, and perhaps one that they deserved to win. But on another day, they probably would have won, but they didn't, so they didn't quite get that result, so they're going to be looking to bounce back today. In this team, they've made 9 changes from that defeat against Wasps, including Maud Muir, the talent who everyone thinks is going to be playing for England so soon, dropping to the bench. It's an interesting decision from Giselle, so we wonder why they've done that. I think maybe just giving them a kick, giving them a momentum for going into this game. Who knows if it's going to work? Hopefully it does for Wasps, but I'm not quite sure. They've got 2 debutants in this side. They've got Melanie Coumbias, who's coming over from France. Don't really know much about her. She's
Jess! Come on, Jess! offload. Oh, she wanted that pass.
Gotta be a card.
Move it. Just move it. Murdered it.
The hair.
So Abby, I'll start with you. Brilliant win after starting off last weekend with the defeat against Saracens. How good does that feel to be back out there with a win?
Yeah, I mean, we're a team that hopefully will continue to win through the season. So, yeah, we didn't get the start we wanted, but it's good to get the ball rolling now.
Obviously, you're scoring a couple of tries today, I think, in the end. Was it 2 or 1?
I think it was 1.
Oh, scoring today anyway. How good is it to get on the score sheet again and start this season off, hopefully where it's going to go for you for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, as a winger, you hope to get a few tries in each game. So it was good to get back onto the score sheet and hopefully it'll progress through the season.
And you were kicking to touch a lot today. Was that something that Giselle's been wanting you to do?
Well, I've got a decent boot, so it tends to get us just further down the pitch because we kind of want to be a territory team. Like the game's progressing, so every metre counts. So that's why.
We're going to see you kicking to goal at any point this season?
Absolutely not. If we do, it's the end of the world.
And Liz, the front row battle was massive today. Obviously, Loughborough were really strong and dominant for lots of that game. How tough is it in those scrums?
Can I say I missed the free kicks from last year? Yeah, no, really, really tough. We knew that their forwards, like their front row, are solid, and I think sometimes we benefit from being a small pack, and sometimes we don't. So it was definitely hard to a certain degree. You just had to put your head down and push and see where you got.
And how important was it to keep Loughborough out in the closing stage of the first half when they kept pushing? Play against people like Clark, people like Sarah Hunter?
I mean, set piece is so key in terms of getting possession of a ball. I mean, the common saying of like forwards win the match, so and like backs decide by how much. So with the set piece that Loughborough brought today, it gave us a really tough battle to keep on top of them. So when you've got key players that can do the small details very well, then it becomes a big challenge for us. But we got there.
And preparing for next week now, how excited are you for going into next week's game?
Yeah, well, we've got Worcester, which brings different challenges to us. So we'll prep against them and come out with a slightly tweaked game plan and hopefully smash them too and keep the ball rolling.
Congratulations both of you and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
So tough 2 weeks to start the season. Obviously last week against Quins and today felt like the scoreline was a little bit harsh on you. How tough was that out there?
I think physically we dominated them, like set piece wise. I think scrums, we went in there mentally, physically, and I think we did well. Around the park, I also think we stepped up compared to last week. It's just when we create opportunities, taking it, and our error count needs to be lower.
How important was really in the end not scoring down there in the corner at the end of the first half?
I think it was important, but I don't think it shaped the game, because I think we created other opportunities like down there in the corner, but it's just like getting points from that.
Yeah. How much can't you wait till you get some of your international players back in the team?
I think we can't wait, but also not taking anything away from the girls that have played the last 2 weeks. I think they've stepped up. Quite a lot of them not really been in this environment before, so I think once they settle into it, I think it'll be a different game. Yeah,
how good do you think this will be for their development? Obviously you've got the Allianz Cup in a few weeks' time starting. How important do you think the development of these younger players will be going into that competition?
I think the development of them will be good. I think like they've stepped up well now, so when that cup comes along, they'll be in the right headspace and they'll be taking the leadership for the team.
And obviously training for next week's game, what will you be focusing on as a team, do you think, this week?
I think just executing. So when we create opportunities, just taking it and getting some points when we're down in the gold zone.
One of the massive positives for you lot today was a scrum, really powerful against a pretty strong Wasps front row, Bryony Cleal, Liz Craig, Muir coming in the second half. How nice was that for you to get an upper hand over people like that?
I think for us it was a mentality, because obviously last week we didn't do that, and I don't think you learn to scrimmage overnight. So I think once you switch that mentality and you buy in as an 8, I think it's really important, and I think around the park we showed that as well, so that was nice.
Perfect, thank you for that and good luck for next week as well.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for joining us. Obviously, the first question is, how's your eye and how is everything after yesterday?
Yeah, my eye's good, thank you. I've just got strips on it right now, but I'm gonna get stitches.
How did it actually happen? Yeah. How did it actually happen? I think you were right in front of us when it happened, but I didn't actually see what happened to it.
Yeah, it was like a cover tackle from guard, and I watched it back in slow-mo, and I think I actually hit my face off the nine's bum. Like, it's not a foot or anything, literally just her shorts. I got hit under the eye here, and then my eye was popped.
Interesting way to injure yourself. But obviously, it was a real tough game. The battle was really tough. Wasps were quite impressive, to be fair. But I think there was times in the game where if you scored the try late in the first half, you could have won it. Do you think that's what kind of went wrong, not scoring late in the first half?
I think there were a lot of opportunities we didn't capitalise on that we should have. Like, we had a couple of line-outs, like 2 meters out, that we didn't execute. I think we created a lot of opportunities for ourselves, but didn't take the chances when they came. And I think that just kind of added up over the game and then was ultimately the reason we didn't win.
I think there was plenty of front row dominance and forward dominance from yourselves. Letitia had a really strong game against their front row, clearly backed up by your second row and yourselves. Do you think that's a good sign going forward?
Yeah, I think compared to last week, I felt like the forwards were a lot more put together and a lot more dominant. The vibes within us, like, we were all hyping each other up, and obviously we've got something great to take from that we've annihilated them in the scrums, basically.
And Sadia at 7 on a debut was really impressive. She's shone. It's going to be important to keep her going week in, week out, isn't it?
Yeah, she had an unreal game, and especially against her old side, I think that spurred her along quite a lot.
And obviously you've got Eloise Hayward at 9, and I brought my dad along yesterday for the first time watching a game, and he noticed how loud and chirpy she is. Is that annoying for you forwards, or does it drive you along a bit?
No, we might have looked annoyed at times, but we were just exhausted. She's very good at bringing the energy, and I think that's what ultimately made us win the scrums. I don't think we were physically heavier or particularly technically better than them, but it was just our togetherness as an 8 and just belief in ourselves and our process.
And looking ahead to next week, you play Saracens, another one of last year's finalists. How tough a start has this been, and how are you prepping for next week now?
Yeah, it's obviously we're playing all the teams that finished above us last year, so lots of challenge, but I think it's really testing us as a squad. And as long as we're improving week on week, then I think the reward will come later in the season.
And you think everything's going to be... You had a lot of young players yesterday. I asked Letitia this yesterday. A lot of young players filling in for the internationals who are out. How important do you think that'll be coming later in the Premier 15 season, but also in the Allianz Cup as well?
Well, I think having depth in our squad's really important, because injuries can come at any time in the season, or, as you say, the Allianz Cup is coming up and people being away with international duties. I think it's really important for people like Alex Baker, Georgina, to have that experience at Prem level so that they can step up when their time comes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for just quickly catching up with us after Friday. I hope your eye recovers soon and you're fit to play again this weekend.
I will be, I hope so.
That's full time here at Loughborough University. The Wasps women coming away with a 29-0 victory away from Loughborough. I think it's actually a harsh scoreline on Loughborough lining, like we just said. They were really dominant in the forward. We spoke to Letitia Harper, just the England front row, and Loughborough scrum was dominant for much of that game, pushing Wasps off it, and also their line-out was quite impressive. But they just didn't get that try down in the far corner. If they'd have got that try, I think it would have been a different game, actually. If they got that try, they'd been going into the second half with that momentum, with that power, and possibly to get that win. But Wasps were impressive, to be fair to them. Abby Dow outstanding. Ellie Boatman on the other wing also really good as well. And also Claudia McDonald controlled the tempo of the game and got them over that line. And I think their forward pack actually managed the momentum and the shift of power well. They managed to turn it away, get the ball out quick to their backs, who were really strong. A couple of backs moves that they played to score one of their second tries, I think it was, to ship it out wide. The wingers swapped wings. Abby Dow made a break and shipped it wide to Ellie Boatman, who scored. Really impressive. We'd love to see more of that this season. But for Loughborough, Sadia Kabay was immense on her home debut, on her Loughborough debut actually. She was so impressive for them. She carried hard, she tackled hard, put some huge hits as well. And also Sarah Hunter was Sarah Hunter. She was world class. She shows why she's still playing for that England team after so much experience, so many caps. And I can't wait to see her do that for the Red Roses for the rest of the season. I think Loughborough just need a win. If they get that win, they're going to be on there. They played the two of the last year's semi-finalists and one of last year's finalists in the opening games. And if they get that win, they start winning against other teams, then it's still going to be a good season for Loughborough. They may not be winning so far, but to get that win will be really important. So hopefully they get that done next week just for them. So thank you for watching the Women's Rugby Show. I've been Sam, by the way, and you've been watching the Women's Rugby Show, and we'll see you next week as well.